Hi everyone, and today we're going to be talking about blush. So if you see me looking down, I have my notes here for what I want to talk about. So it's just to help keep me on track so I kind of stay more linear for you guys. So pretty much we're going to start out with formulations. There are a couple different types of formulations for blush. You have your powder, your cream, and your liquids. Anybody can do either. Personally, I prefer, well, a liquid is my favorite, like a cheek stain is my favorite, but I usually prefer a cream. Powders, though, however, are generally easier. They just honestly don't have the longevity that a cream or a stain does, so that's why I have a tendency to like those better. But most people have a tendency to think that powder is a little bit easier to apply. But I will give you some tricks for how to work with liquids and creams in this video. So, so formulations. There are a couple different formulations, the most common being a powder, cream, or liquid blush. Powders are probably the most common. They're the ones that people are most familiar with. I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Creams and liquids, I think, are generally a little bit more intimidating. I really like creams and liquids. Cheek stains are actually my favorite thing on earth to work with, just because you can do so much with them, and I feel like the value that you get from a cream or liquid with what you can actually do to the product to change it to match anybody's skin, or what their need or desire is as far as the achieved look, is a lot greater than with a powder. My favorite powder, or my favorite blushes, I should say, for cream, I do like NARS. Their formulas are really not sticky. They're very smooth. They go on really nicely. So they either have these right here, which is just the normal cream blushes, and this one's Locum. Or I really like these, the multiple sticks, which are these right here. And both of them dry down to more of a powder finish. Not a big fan of the MAC cream ones. I suppose they're okay for like a normal skin type, but for a really dry skin type or really oily skin type, don't like them because they're too sticky. On a dry skin type, the pigment just really sucks up into the skin unevenly. I mean, you can work with it, you can get it to look pretty, but it's too much effort for me. It's too much work for me, so I don't like them that much. So anyways, so when applying a cream blush, really the general rule of thumb is just always use a brush. It's so much easier. Don't try to use a sponge or your finger, unless you really want to, I suppose. You're just going to get such a more natural look, and it's going to be so much easier to blend the product if you use a brush. My favorite is definitely a stipple brush for a cream. It just really nicely diffuses the color and just gives you a really nice airbrush look and just kind of that kiss of color, or even you can even contour with it, but you just get so much more control of the product with a brush than with your fingers or with a sponge. A sponge will just deposit way too much product on your skin. So that said, my absolutely favorite is the liquid. So my favorite cheek stain of all time is Benefit's Benetint. I also really like the Balm Statanic cheek stains. Lorac makes a really nice range of cheek stains. Vincent Longo has a really nice range of cheek stains. They probably have more colors than anyone I've ever seen. And also Tarte makes more of a gel cheek stain that's really, really nice. And they have a really good color range for those as well. So honestly, I really like stains just because they have the most staying power. You can do so much with them. This is $28, this bottle here, and it will last you literally forever, because you use so little product. They have so much versatility because you can mix them in with different things. This is my favorite thing, these two to mix together. This is the MAC Hyperreal Foundation Tint, and it's like this pearly gold color, and I'll mix the two together and it just creates this beautiful kind of like pinkish gold sort of color, and it's so pretty. Or you can even mix this with a tinted moisturizer, just get a really light look. Just so much stuff that you can do with the liquid. And when you mix it down with something, it just makes it so much easier to apply. You have so much blendability with it. You have so much control over the product. Usually what I'll do is I'll do it on my hand first, and then I'll take a brush, again, the stipple brush, and I'll work it into where I want it. So, and that works really, really well. And it's very pretty, especially on somebody that really doesn't need a lot of coverage in their foundation. They just, maybe you're just throwing a powder or a tinted moisturizer on them. I'll do something like this first, and then just a really light coating of tinted moisturizer powder on top, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous. So, and the one thing I like about this too is you can control the color. You can really layer a cheek stain. You can either get a really natural flushed look, or you can get a really dramatic bright red or whatever. And again, with liquids and creams, the versatility of the product I think is so great, just because with a liquid or cream you can really use it anywhere. And you'll see me do this probably in a lot of my tutorials, is I use these NARS colors as eyeshadow bases all the time, or when I really don't want to do anything, and I just want a really super natural look, but I gotta have some color on the eye, I'll just do a coating of blush, of cream blush on my eye, and just kind of opens my eye up a little bit. I'll do that and a little bit of mascara, and I am good to go. So that's a really pretty trick. You can also use them on the lips, although they can get a little bit dry, and if you have really dry lips, it's probably not the best thing to do, but it does work. So, yes, sorry, I kind of talked about that way too much. This might be a two-parter just because I had my little spiel there. But anyways, so, how to apply. There are a couple different rules. How to apply is really kind of based more on the desired look more than anything else. Just to get two general good rules of thumb is when you're applying blush, just really use a light hand. It's a lot easier to add more than take off, especially if you're working with a product that's really super pigmented. Another trick is know what kind of brush you want you need to get the effect that you want, because if you're using the wrong kind of brush, it's really going to mess up the effect you're trying to get. Generally speaking, a good rule of thumb is a domed brush is going to give you a much more diffused look. A flatter brush is going to give you a more contoured look. So know which look you want, and use a brush that fits into that category accordingly, and you'll be much happier with your results. What else? Again, I mentioned sponges, fingers, not really the best way to apply blush. They just put too much product on. And another thing that I will mention is the apple of the cheek rule, where to apply blush. A lot of people, there's a lot of stuff floating around, and it's kind of like the concealer that's 2 shades lighter under the eye, where you should smile and apply your blush there. And I really don't like that rule, and the reason why is just because most people don't walk around like this. Once you relax your face, everything sags, and it can really age the face. So I use the two finger rule. So I'll take my 2 fingers and I'll put it right here, or I'll take my client's 2 fingers and I'll put them right against their nose, and this is where I will start my blush. Just because once the face relaxes, that really becomes the apple of the cheek, or that's where you want the apple of the cheek to fall. Like if I did this, and then I want to drop, my blush is right here, and that just brings the whole face down. And really the point of blush is to really brighten up the face and create the illusion of more of a cheekbone or a flush in the cheeks. And you definitely want that to look natural. And if it's right here, it's not going to look natural. It's going to make you look aged. So, that said, yeah. Oh, and then where do I apply my blush, generally speaking, with most people? I'll start at the temple and move my way down. It works for most face shapes. If somebody has a more angular or a squarer face, I will definitely apply it more towards the apple of the cheeks, as I just described. If somebody has a more diamond or angular shaped face, I will apply blush kind of in a little curve, just to give them an illusion of more softness to the face. So those are just kind of the different face shapes that I apply different blush colors to, and like the ways that I do it. So there's just a few other tricks I'd like to share with you, so please stay tuned for part 2. And yeah, so I'll see you guys later.